Welcome to Personal Mastery Training. I'm your host, Alvin Brown, former world-class athlete turned entrepreneur and consultant. Join us as we learn from guests who have conquered their inner battles and share their journeys to success. Get ready for inspirational masterclasses and thought-provoking strategy sessions to fuel your path to personal mastery. Let's dive in. Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mastery Alliance, Personal Mastery Training. It's all about giving you the tools, giving you suggestions, giving you one idea. As my mentor, Dr. Tom Hill, always says, one idea, well executed, can change your life forever. Humans don't need 10 ideas. You can't act on 10, just one idea. So something we say today, our goal is that we say that one thing that just lights go on for you. So today, I want to talk about this idea of increasing luck. You know, they say luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? So, but a lot of people aren't prepared. They say they want something, whether it be a good relationship, health, an opportunity in their business, whatever it might be. But are you truly prepared for the opportunity if it comes along? Or are you out there calling everybody lucky? Oh man, they're so lucky. Meanwhile, you don't realize a lot of times when I'm watching celebrities today, celebrities who are really great at what they do, sometimes they seem to come out of nowhere, overnight success. Oh my God, where'd they come from? Just overnight. Then you go back and you look at some of their history, and they've been rocking since they were very small. They're doing local community things. They're doing volunteer. They're struggling, starving artists. They're doing that whole route. And by the time we see them, they're prepared. It's almost like that wisdom I heard when someone was asking for a raise. I think it was Zig Ziglar said this. He says, you'll get a raise when you become effective, right? Your raise will become effective when you do. So many people want something. For instance, once a boss or the company gives me a raise, I'm going to raise my game. But at this level, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not going to do nothing. They're not giving me enough to do anything here. What they don't realize is that when they're giving more of themselves, when they're giving their 100% every day. This is something I tell my kids when they used to play their sports. Even if you don't like the coach, if the team is not doing great, you show up and you do well. You do your absolute best every game, because when this is over, this team or this experience you're going to leave better than when you came. And then when the right team sees you and they put you on it, you're ready to elevate your game and raise your game. So, for instance, take that employee at work who says, I'm only getting paid this. It's not my department. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that extra because I'm only getting the base. They don't realize that someone's hearing them who may have the opportunity that they're waiting for. Like, say, a customer calls and they're going over the top for their small little amount of wages. And that customer realized, wow, they were great. One day they find the company lets them go or they left. They're going, where was that person that I talked to? They were amazing. I want to give them an opportunity because I saw how their work ethic, as opposed to, oh, it's not my job, not my department, and they get let go. You're thinking in your head, well, geez, I'm surprised they lasted that long. I would never give them an opportunity. So that's what I want to lay on the table is how can we help someone listening to increase their luck? And what are things they can do to draw more opportunities to them? So I'm going to leave it there and let's cook it up. Passing the mic.
All right. Another awesome topic. Thank you for serving this up. And luck is an interesting concept because people think that there's a lot of people that think it's totally random, right? Luck, and that they don't have any power to influence it. And the reality is luck, or call it good fortune, is something that we create by the way that we prepare, by the way that we work. And then down the road, we show up as lucky in other people's eyes when really They don't understand the backstory. One of my friends is probably, arguably in the United States anyway, one of the most sought after people as far as television sports that's back in the truck running instant replay, running, the pregame stuff, all the, changing graphics. And he's done every major sporting event in the United States. So we're talking about NASCAR, Indy 500, NHL finals, the Super Bowl, World Series, NBA. I mean, um, what's the horse race there in Louisville, Kentucky, the Kentucky Derby. He's done the Olympics. He's done everything. Monday Night Football. He's the guy that you're going to call when you want to make sure it happens. And he said he's heard a lot of time from people, man, you're so lucky that you get to do all those things. And he said, people don't understand that when I was starting out, and I would drive all night to get to these events because A, I didn't have the money for an airfare. B, I didn't have the money for the hotel. And so my car was my hotel room and my car was my air because I didn't have, so I'm driving 10 hours, 12 hours, 13 hours to get to the event. And oh, by the way, the floorboard in that car was rusted out. So if it was raining, water was splashing up inside the car on me. And then I get out, go to a gas station, change my clothes, and bam, I'm on. And I did that for some years before I had the resources to, get my credit cards and then build up my credit and then be able to stay in the hotels and then be able to get the airfare and all those things. And so he was willing to sacrifice to put himself in a position where he could display his talent, display his hard work. And so sacrifice is essential to create success. How many people are willing to sacrifice? Now, when I travel, and it just depends on the situation, whether I decide to fly or drive. And when I drive, sometimes I stop in a rest area, right, and to use the bathroom, stretch my legs, and I'll see cars, all these cars parked out there. Obviously, people are parked out there overnight, sometimes sleeping. And I wonder to myself, how many of these people are entrepreneurs, right? And they're doing what they need to do, doing what they have to do to be able to put themselves in a position to win, to succeed, to get lucky. With that, I'll pass the mic.
All right, Brandon. I see your smile. I see your smile. So I'll get to it. I'll get to it. All right. So great topic. Thank you, Alvin. I was as I was searching our friendly internet and listening to you guys, just kind of diving into luck. Um, I brought out two explanations of what luck is that could be pertinent, in my opinion, to this conversation. Okay, so let me share them with you guys. So, explanation number one, it says luck is an explanation people use to make sense of certain events. And the second one, it talks about luck as a personal attribute, saying that luck is a personal attribute that someone has within themselves. Okay. So whenever something happens, again, most people, they're trying to make an explanation out of it. They're trying to figure out, okay, well, this person, yeah, he's just lucky. He's just lucky. He was at the right place at the right time, or she was at the right place at the right time. Well, I think it's very interesting when you start looking at luck, even as a personal attribute, as something that's already within yourself that you have to activate, that you have to act upon by the way that you prepare. Just as Alvin talked about, just as Charlie talks about. And one of the most important things also that everything comes down to is, do we know how to prepare? Do we know how to prepare to put ourselves in this position to have luck? Okay. Or to have these dreams that are in your heart, in your mind, to come to fruition in your life. I think that's a big part of the question, how most people don't take the time to prepare, don't take the time to dream, okay, and kind of wander through life. Again, I believe, as Zig Ziglar was saying. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about these dreams that are in your mind, or these goals that are in your mind. Okay, I believe they are there for a reason. And I believe in order to manifest them, okay, there's a couple things that we all need to do. And as we do these things, we're not guaranteed that these dreams will come to fruition tomorrow or 10 years from now, but we're definitely increasing the odds, okay, increasing the odds of being lucky, first by preparing your mind, okay, by preparing your mind to remind yourself of these dreams, of what it is that you actually want, what it is that actually fires you up. You know, a lot of people, me, it's in the morning, some people probably in the afternoon, they wake up and then they have this great idea, okay, that fires them up, that they love, but they don't write it down, they don't uh commit to it, they don't remind themselves of it, and then what happens, they go out into the world and life happens and people want your energy and people want your attention, and you put these things last, okay. They are important. They're not necessarily urgent for you. They're not attached to any sense of urgency. So what happens? You put them last and you forget. Okay. And you forget. And then you start saying, oh, I'm unlucky. Okay. I'm unlucky. I'm forced to do certain things that I don't necessarily want to do. Well, what if the things that you really, really love to do, that fire you up, what if you put them at the top, at the top. And every single day, when you wake up, let's say you make your bed, you go in front of the mirror and you remind yourself of these things. That's probably number one thing. Okay. And then you set a plan, a course of action to do one little thing every single day for a very long time to become that person that does those things way before they manifest. Okay. Just that, just that puts you in a position to get very lucky at some point. I'm pretty sure. And as I look at Alvin, as I look at Dr. Charlie, as I look at Brandon or myself, um, I'm pretty confident that there's a lot of things that we're doing today, okay, that we viewed in our mind way before they manifested. Uh, And these things aren't happening today because we're just lucky. There's some parts of it because there's work behind it, because there's sacrifice behind it, and most importantly, there's commitment, focus, behind these things. So that's my message ultimately. I love the term preparation. We talk about it very often, but I would say focus on what you truly want. Start by doing that. Focus on it. And then simplify. Okay. Simplify as much as possible. Don't make it complicated. Figure out what you want. Simplify how you want to obtain these things and just commit to them. Sacrifice for them. Work for them. See what happens. I guarantee you a lot of luck will trickle in. And I love just the thought that this could be a personal attribute that you already have within you that you can activate by how you live your life. You can activate more luck for you, or you can leave it dormant also. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Hey, can I jump in real quick, guys?
Anytime.
Someone greedy. Look at this. He's coming back for
Get in,
another.
get in there. Get in there where you fit in.
He hit on something there, and I wanted to, I was fresh, bring it out. And Ray talked about sacrifice and then simplifying things, right? And so right now, all of us have a full schedule. Everyone listening to this podcast has a full schedule. Everybody, even if they're retired, they have a full schedule, right? So if there's something different you want to accomplish in your life, something different you want to do in your life, you got to let go of something you're currently holding on to because you already got full schedule, right? So what do you have to let go of? Well, one of the things you're going to have to let go of is comfort, right? So if you want to accomplish something different or better than you've ever accomplished before, greater than you've ever accomplished before, you're going to have to let go of comfort. You're going to have to let go of it. You're going to have to become uncomfortable. That's for sure, right? And then sometimes we hold on to everything that we know, but you got to embrace the unknown. And so you're going to have to let go of some things that you think you know to find out what you don't know and what you need to know. That unknown, which is scary to people. But you got to let go of that comfort. You know, you got to let go sometimes of the known things because what you currently know is getting your current results, right? So you got to go beyond what you currently know to go beyond your current results. With that, I'll pass the mic.
Anybody else?
Someone greedy there. Go ahead, Brad. I don't know if there's anything left for you, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. Can you guys hear me good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, right on. Well, good morning, man. Good to see you all. This is interesting. I've got, you hear over the years, I've heard folks talk about luck, and like there's no such thing as luck, right? You either are intentional and you produce, right? You do things, and to get you to a certain point or for a certain outcome, right? I do believe there is something to luck, right? That's in us, and listen to you talk and on the subject immediately, just like Ray, jump right to Google and let's see what the Google tells us, and the definitions and everything. And I came across this paper that was published in Developmental Psychology by Jacqueline Woolley of University of Texas to define luck in three ways: a supernatural event, an explanation people use to make sense of certain events, and a personal attribute one has within themselves. And when you walk through the rest of this paper, it gets into especially that third one where people just they have a flexible mindset. They're very open and free-minded thinking, so they're as things happen to them in their life or they make decisions and they walk through life and they're participating in various activities and positive things happen. They just view it as like, hey man, I'm just lucky, right? And there's some, definitely some truth to it. Even goes on to say that there's from a scientific standpoint that there are scientists and professors, that still say, hey, crossing my fingers or knock on wood, right? So there's something in us deeply ingrained in our psyche when it comes to luck in society, if you will. But as each of you've all mentioned, I keep hearing in the background, right, words like choice come to mind, right? You talked about focus. I just threw in intentional, right? You talk about Al, you jumped right in there with it, planning, right? And sacrifice and being uncomfortable. And I don't want I think people need to understand that if we're just sitting around on the couch and the choice is that's what I'm going to do and eat Doritos and watch Netflix all the time, and then all of a sudden I win the lottery, you know, the chances of that, you're better off probably getting struck by lightning through your house sitting on that same couch than winning the lottery. However, you know, you're going to have to make the right choices, whether it's planning and then executing and being intentional in partaking in activities, doing certain tasks that, yes, very well could be uncomfortable. Not just physically uncomfortable, but uncomfortable to the point of, maybe you're making a choice to sacrifice time with family or time with your friends or time doing things that you would much rather be doing, like sitting around eating Doritos and watching Netflix. Maybe you're in the gym, maybe your goals, to be healthier, to lift more weights, or, maybe your goals to get a degree, or to take a class online, something that's going to better yourself and get you to where you need to be. And then at the end, ultimately, walk through that process. You partake on that journey, if you will. And then the outcome is, hey, I got promoted, or the outcome is, hey, I've lost 40 pounds. I'm down 3 pant sizes, right? You know, I look better in the mirror. Whatever the outcome, you know, whatever the end outcome is, I could see where people look back and say that, you know, I was lucky, right? And I think there's situations where we are, but I think much more of them are it's an intentional it's an outcome to intentional actions where one takes these actions or a set of actions or you know, from a plan to reach a desired end goal, you know, and sometimes that goal may shift through that plan, right? How many of us have had a goal in mind, maybe even had a, you know, a vision board, or you wrote it down and you've started on this journey to reach that, and by the time you get maybe halfway through, that goal changed, right? Or you even get towards the end and all of a sudden a different outcome, and it's even greater than the goal you had planned out initially for yourself. So I think it takes there's this is a big subject. I'm going to pass the mic because there's a lot to talk about here. I threw some stuff out there. I'm interested in your take on it. But focus, choices, being uncomfortable, but you've got to be intentional, and ultimately you have to take action. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Beautiful, beautiful. I've got so I think I'll keep you guys quiet for about an hour here. I got some stuff I got to talk about. All right, so check it out. Ray just dropped a word that makes me want to change the title of this conversation. How to create extraordinary luck and circumstances. So I'll go to Ray first and then I'll go back to Charlie and Brandon. So I looked up the word extraordinary. Beyond what is usual, ordinary, regular, or established. 2, exceptional in character, amount, extent, degree, etc. Outside of the additional to the ordinary that we expect. So I was just thinking about this conversation is about how to create extraordinary. I mean, in my opinion, this is not it for everybody. I realize that, and I said that in my book when I wrote it, that what I call greatness is not what everybody else calls greatness. However, here's what I want to say. Why don't we all go out there and live an extraordinary, beyond what is usual, ordinary, regular? I love to show up. My goal is always to show up and do extraordinary work where it's beyond what you're usually used to. Be a little different. So, extraordinary. Luck is the explanation people use to explain extraordinary things, things they don't usually see. Work ethic today is extraordinary. You know, laying it down and sleeping in your car if you have to, driving 12 hours, windshield time, as Dr. Charlie used to call it. He's put in that time. I know that. You know, skip if you can't fly, drive. If you can't drive, maybe take a bus, Uber. It's find a way. So if I go to Dr. Charlie and what he was talking about, I said it's not a matter of having all the resources in alignment before you make the move. It's about being more resourceful, finding a way. I love challenging my brain. One of my assistant and I, we have this term that says everything is, and she'll finish it up, figure outable. You'll figure it out. Just put it out there. So it's not a matter of there's no more resources, you know. There's how many times have you heard people say, "Oh, when this new government gets in, when this thing happens, oh, we're gonna go down and things are gonna, you know how many millionaires were created during the pandemic? I read something where it says 5 million millionaires were created during the pandemic. During the pandemic? Wow. Zoom, for instance, what we're using now, Zoom blew up 200%, I think it was, during the pandemic, if I remember correctly, because they had luck. They were prepared. It's almost like they created a pandemic because all of a sudden you needed somewhere to go on. You know, them and Microsoft Teams and all these other platforms blew up. But Zoom came out of it the bigger player because they could accommodate the masses. because they were lucky. They were ready. So sacrifice and being intentional. Hungry versus, I wrote here, hungry versus starving. I recently heard someone talk about the two definition. A coach, I think it was, said they'd rather an athlete who is starving versus hungry. Because they said hungry, you can just feed them once and they're satiated. That's it. They're just hungry. But starving is the next level. How starving are you for what you want? Sometimes the worst thing you can get is being satiated, getting what you want too early in the game. It takes you out because you were just hungry anyways. You weren't starving. I want is starving, he said. And I really adopted that because when you have had recently, one of my clients said, he admitted, I'm so grateful to me that I'm so grateful for things, right? And that's because I've suffered in the past. Suffered, quote unquote, as the world would put it. Right? I've had nothing with, a single mom raising five kids from Jamaica, So there's been times. So right now I'm grateful for whatever to this day. I'm grateful for someone giving me respect, someone, sharing something with me, my clients to come to me for the last 30 years. I'm grateful for the money they pay me to do what I love to do every day. I'm grateful. And I think they picked that up. So hungry versus starving. What do you have to let go of in order to elevate your game to the next level? Dr. Charlie's right. If I'm still holding on to the same clothing, let me put this clothing in my closet. I lost some weight, but let me keep the clothing in my closet just in case. Or what about this? Just give it away to somebody. Give it to Value Village or wherever you choose to give it goodwill. You name it. Give it away because you're not coming back. I'm not coming back to that clothes again. I'm burning my ships. So what do you have to give up to elevate to that next level? And Ray dropped some bombs. This is a great bomb, Ray. This is a great one here. The great question. Do you know how to prepare? That's a question actually we overlook. Because sometimes I made the mistake of thinking people have the tools internally. You can give them the tools, but if they haven't learned 101 work ethic, 101, it's hard to give them the great tools. It's almost like handing a beginning driver a Lambo and said, "Here, go ahead and drive this." No, no, no. Let's start with the small Prius or whatever the car is, and something safe, and let them drive that and give them time. But some people don't know how to drive, how to pick themselves up. Let's start 101 then. Let's start 101. Do they know how to prepare? Do you know that you should affirm what you want, put it in the universe every day? Do you know that you need daily immersion in order to get rid of the daily bombardment you have had growing up saying you're nothing, you'll be nothing. All of these things that people have had in their heads they've had it for decades, and now you want them to grab this goal and not have that imposter syndrome sneak up. Meanwhile, for decades they've been telling themselves they're no good. They've been listening to the narrative. So they need to get this rhythm, need to be consistent. You need to show up every day. That's a work ethic thing. That's a very difficult thing to show somebody who's been sitting on a couch eating Doritos and being comfortable for years. The gym, why do you think the gym in January coming up, you can't find a parking spot from January to January 2nd, super motivated. January 30th, it's petering off because they don't have that base hunger. And so it's a great question, Ray, is do you know how to prepare for luck? Don't take the time to prepare a dream. Yeah, that's part of that process too. Do you dream? Visioneering. Like engineering, do you do visioneering every day? Do you go to the movie theater in your mind and immerse yourself in that vision for the future? Intentional actions, focus, dedication, and commitment. Simplify. Yeah, too much time I love what Ray talked about, having this journal of capturing ideas. It's like a shooting star. You got to catch that lucky star. Sometimes when we look up, this is probably the same metaphor. Sometimes when we look up at the sky and when we go camping or somewhere where it is devoid of all the lights in the city, we see shooting stars and we wish on it. Oh, because it's so rare, extraordinary. Why? Because we're distracted with the city lights and so on. So we say, oh, look, shooting star. It's extraordinary. As people in the country see it almost every day because they're void of distraction. So we have to then capture it, capture the shooting star. You have a great idea, capture it. But then let's go back to what Ray said. One idea, well executed. Keep it for later. But there are clues along the way. And so Brandon brought up the supernatural events. That third one that the researcher, supernatural events. Are they supernatural? If it's within our realm of this planet and our reality, is it supernatural? It just hasn't appeared to you yet, but it's all out there. Because how can something out of this realm appear? What is it? Is it ghosts? Is it, and even that people can say they've seen that. So what can be extraordinary or supernatural event? Yeah, it's out of our ordinary. So that's what we want to create. Imagine telling our ancestors 100 years ago or 200 years ago about Zoom. Whoa. But it's already there. It's here, right? Winning the lottery, Brandon talked about as luck too. Someone sitting on the Dorito eater. But at least that Dorito eater has to go out and buy a ticket. So they're creating that kind of luck anyways. You know what I mean? So it's almost impossible to avoid that action. Even if it's sitting 95% is sitting on that Dorito eating couch. You have to at least do something to create that action. All right? So these are all great. And the world, I wrote here, the world is a magical place. It really is. I was just thinking about this, the world, and I was thinking about this a long time ago when I think about energy, as I talk about energy in my clinic. We are literally humans. We are literally walking through life in an amorphous sea of opportunities. We are energy beings having a human experience. And here's what I mean. Our five senses that we know about, the physical senses, are transducing energy, sound energy, light energy, heat, mechanical energy into meaning. So nothing is anything until we experience it, but it's out there. But our nervous system takes physical energy, like sound is just a vibrating energy. It converts it through follicles in our ear, and then it goes into the brain and the part of the brain that converts it into meaning, and then it attaches itself to it. So all this happens like that for us to experience what we're going through. But otherwise, it's out there. It's amorphous, like the radio station that is now projecting, but we don't have the tuner to bring it in. But it's out there. It's happening. So here's where I'm going with this. Quantum physics, my amateur quantum physics knowledge is particles and waves. At some point, everything's a wave, amorphous, but it becomes a particle when our consciousness tunes in on it. It becomes a particle and something physical. So think about it now. We're walking through this universal consciousness and we're transducing information all the time. Transduce, heat. Our body is constantly reacting to this information coming in. And we're making meaning of it as we go through. Now we raise our consciousness to something that we didn't know was there. All of a sudden we see it all the time because now our consciousness is, the wave becomes a particle and now we're conscious of it. So this is what I mean. Where I'm going here to wrap this up is luck is created by raising our consciousness. And raising our consciousness happens by going out and doing, to what Brandon said. You can't sit on that couch because you're not going to create luck because you're not raising your consciousness to see the things that are already supernatural, that already exists, but you can't see it because your consciousness is low. It's at a low vibration. So you have to go out there and keep creating luck by doing, taking action, failing forward. And that's how luck is created. We all go back to the podcast. We talk about Byron Nelson. How many times was he foreclosed on his almost on his house or whatever it might be, and he just kept going, creating more luck. Now he's a billionaire. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Very good. As you were all speaking about this topic, one of the things that came to mind, um, it was a wisdom, and it was something that I wrote down. But then I said, well, hey, let me Google this and see if I can find some other wisdoms on it. And of course, the first one was Napoleon Hill. A lot of times people don't recognize opportunity or recognize good fortune or recognize things as lucky because it comes in disguise. And this is something Napoleon Hill said. He said, opportunity often comes disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. And I love that wisdom so much, because who makes the defeat temporary? We do, right? However, to Alvin's point, if we don't take action, then guess what? The defeat becomes permanent, because we were defeated, we lost, and then we didn't do anything about it. So temporary defeat is such a great term. And misfortune sometimes is actually good fortune, right? Or luck. And so I wrote down a few examples of what that could look like. Could be getting fired from your job. That doesn't feel fortunate. Losing a relationship ending. That doesn't feel good. Your business fails. That doesn't feel good, but sometimes a business failure gets you to either go on your own or get a different partner. And all of a sudden, when you go on your own or get a different partner, you start having success, right? And you realize that partner or partners were holding you back. You miss a promotion. I deserved that. I earned it. I outworked everyone else in the department, and I didn't get it, and it wasn't fair. So then what happens? You say, you know what? I'm gonna leave, go out on my own, or change jobs, and boom, that turns into good fortune. I remember the last job I had, I got snubbed on a bonus. I'm sure Al remembers this, that the year before I
Do I
had,
ever? Mhm.
yeah, I had received a $4,000 bonus the year before. No, it was 5,000. And so I had a better year. And they said, well, hey, bonus is going to be down a little bit. So don't be surprised if it's not what you received last year. But I'm like, well, my bonus is going to be as good or better than I had a better year, statistically, everything. And I get that bonus. I remember they would give you a check, instead of direct deposit. There was like a formality to it. Your boss, if you were in that day, your boss would walk up and hand you that check, and he'd open the envelope and be revealed. But I was out of town that day. And it was a Friday. My boss said, hey, I stuck your check in your desk so you can get it. And I was like, oh, well, I'll stop by the building on my way home. When I landed at the airport, drove to the building, ran in, grabbed my check, and then drove home. I waited till I got home before I opened that check. And opened the check, drum roll.
Waiting on that bad boy. Here we go.
Yeah, $242 and change. I looked and I just kept looking. I was like, oh man, it's got to be a mistake, It's supposed to be $2,400. So I remember texting my boss, hey, something's wrong with my check. What was wrong? Well, it's only $242. Was supposed to be $2,400. No, that's right. Okay, gotcha. So I think I was gone within 30 days of that. I was like, you know what? I don't need this. I missed the promotion maybe 6 months earlier that I thought I deserved. And then my bonus was that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to see what I can do on my own, and the rest is history. So sometimes luck comes in the form of misfortune, what appears to be misfortune. And here's another. You can't just make this up. It's a funny thing. Every Saturday I go to breakfast with the guy that handles my social media, and he's a friend of mine. So we go to breakfast, talk about, hey, what are we gonna do this week? What do I need to do to be more successful? And we're in this restaurant, and it's my favorite breakfast restaurant in Kansas City. And I'm sitting there, and past him and sits right behind him at another table is my old boss. And I whispered to him, hey, my old boss is sitting behind you. And I haven't seen that person in probably 11, 12 years, something like that, however long I've been out on my own. And so it was an interesting full circle moment. I didn't say anything. I said, I just leave that alone. But um, it was very interesting. And if I would have had anything to say to her, I would have said, thank you for mistreating me, because I never would have achieved the level of success I have if I'd have stayed with your organization. So I owe you a debt of gratitude, but I didn't say that. I thought it. And so with that, I'll pass the
Amen. Amen.
mic.
Now
I love stories. I'll go for it, Brendan.
no, go jump on it, Ray. Go ahead. Try to add to this little.
I love stories like that. Um, I took so many notes. I'll try to stay in a linear line and not go all over the place because all of you said great, great, great things. Okay, let me start off with you, Alvin. And I know you talked about that a few weeks back. Just the concept of someone who's starving and someone who's just hungry. Okay, there's a difference. Get ready, guys. I'll give my first football analogy for today. Okay, there's a grading system for recruits. Okay, generally. So as a college coach, you can recruit a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star prospect. Okay, the 5-star prospects are the ones that are highly rated and that everyone is really trying to recruit. But every single year, some 4 stars and 5-star prospects flop and they get beat out by 3 stars, 2-star, and 1-star prospects. Why is that? Okay, why is that? And I heard a very interesting concept in the past few weeks. And it talks about the difference between a shiny 5-star and a gritty 5-star. It's really two different people. Okay. As a shiny 5-star, it's someone who's highly talented, more than everyone else, but a bit of a diva, kind of comfortable. Okay. Really wants to doesn't want to be coached too hard, doesn't respond too well to adversity, and wants things handed out to him. Very talented, but if you bring on someone like that in your program, and you are someone that has high standards, that you want people to be on time, you may have some problems because that person is kind of you know thinking a little bit too over themselves. You have the gritty 5-star. The gritty 5-star is someone who's highly talented, wants you to coach them hard, always comes to you, asks you what they can do better. They are starving, even though they're more talented, they are starving. And these are the ones that separate. Okay. And now those 5-star prospects, oftentimes they realize when they come to a college campus that there are some guys that are unknown, come from a small town. Let's say my example, me and my brother, Canadian guys, went down to Mississippi. Some of them didn't even know we played football in Canada. What happened? We ended up starting over these guys. Okay. Why is that? Because you may not be rated. Sometimes it's just because of exposure. Once again, because people don't know. Someone found you, someone saw specific traits of starvation that they know will translate when they come to that locker room. They're gonna eat alive the guys who weren't ready for that type of competition. And you see, my tone changes. I go back into football mode a little bit, so I have to bring it bring it back down.
Down, boy,
But
down,
that's a
down.
very Yeah, that's a very important thing to understand. Okay, is that it doesn't matter where you're ranked. It doesn't matter how talented you are. Once we're out here in between these lines, no one cares. Are you gritty or do you just want to be shiny? Okay, so I thought that was a good example I wanted to share. So thanks for that, Alvin. Then you talked about capturing the shooting stars. You know, I love that analogy. I never thought about it like that. And you know, I talked about focusing and writing down your dreams, your wants, your needs, your deepest desires. But if you look at stars again, okay, this will be a great analogy for all of us. We know there are billions of them in the universe. Huh? There are way more than we can count. There are way more than we can count. So if you're just a little bit aware and you look up into the sky once in a while, okay, and you look at the wonders of it, and the sky, let's say, of your mind, okay, of your mind, of your intuition, of your soul, you will be given great insights once in a while. And all you got to do, as Charlie and Alvin always says, you got to catch one. You know, you got to catch one and focus on one. But you will never lack of this information. It's already within you. You got to be aware, awake enough, and to actually look up at it and then catch one. Okay. Now let's go down to Charlie. And I love that one by Napoleon Hill. Opportunity often comes disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. Guys, this is so true. And I believe it's a few months back. Brendan, you'll know we had a great conversation on this with all of us, but we said that pain is non-negotiable. Lesson. We talked about that. We did a whole conversation on that. What is misfortune? What is, you know, defeat?
It's
Really,
pain.
it's exactly. It's an opportunity, okay, to make a decision, okay, and to rise or to fall, okay. Same thing. So everything we do in life, we have two roads that we can take. You know, we have the road where, hey man, I can take this opportunity to get better, or I can let it bring me down. But ultimately, I have this power, I have this choice. I just get to decide. So there, it's weird to say because I know some people are really, really suffering. Everyone suffers in some type of form, but is there really, is suffering all that bad or all that good? You know, that's another good question. It just is. It's part of the whole human experience. And it has the ability to be great teachers for us. So I truly believe in that. There are opportunities for us to rise or opportunities for us to hide, okay, and go even lower. Which opportunity will you take? You know, but that's really all there is to it. So I love that one. Brandon, you said that luck is an outcome to intentional actions. I love that too. Okay, I love that too. Few years back, I was it was my first time leading a team. Okay, first team was about a team of 30 people, and it was a situation where there wasn't any leadership or strong leadership for a while, and people were kind of left to themselves. So I come in and I'm like, okay, how am I gonna create this culture? How am I gonna not end up just firing people all the time like they're asking me to do? Okay, maybe it's not necessarily their fault. Maybe they need some guidance. Maybe they need to hold on to something. And I came up with this. Okay, I wanted to think of something very simple that could be repeated over and over and over and add really very deep meaning. Okay, and I called it I Care. I won't go deep into it. I'll just give you, let's say, the foundations of it because it touches directly on what you talked about, Brandon. So I wanted to show my team that I cared and I wanted them to care about what they do. Okay. So I Care is really an acronym in order, and the first letter was about intention. And I wanted them to know I'm going to be intentional about everything that I do here, and I expect you to do the same. Okay. If you're not someone who's not going to be intentional, this is not going to work out. Okay. In how we serve people and how we go to work and how we do little things, because I truly believe it starts with that. If I catch that shooting star of an idea, but I'm not intentional about nurturing it, about truly keeping it on top of mind, about doing the right things, well, it's not going to do anything for me. So I truly believe that it started with intention, and that's what I wanted to tell the team. The second one, C, is about connecting with it. Okay, it's one thing of seeing it, being intentional. Okay, but then okay, I write down my idea, my dream, but I never connect with it. How can I truly become one? How can I fuel that fire if I don't connect with it? So I told the team, I'm gonna make an intentional effort to connect with you, to know who you are, to understand you, know what you want. And I expect you to do the same, with this team, with our clients. Exactly, because I believe if we connect, we can build bridges, right? And after that, A is about action. Okay. Action. I can be intentional. I can connect. If I don't take action, what are we doing? Okay, what are we doing exactly? It's not just about saying words and not ever doing anything with them. Action is truly important, because in order to build bridges, you have to put up bricks. Okay, you have to put up mortar. You have to put your worker's hat on every single day. So if you don't want to work, let me know. Okay, it's out of actual love. Let me know, and I'll relieve you from your misery, because we're gonna work. Okay, it's as simple as that. I'm gonna put in work. I expect you to put in work. 4, R is about respect. Okay, respect. So respecting people is a no-brainer, but let's dive a little bit deeper into respect. For me, respect is also respecting the process. Okay, it's respecting the process. Is when we talk about luck, if we tie all these things together, it's not because I was intentional today. I connected today, I took action today, that I'll be mad, let's say, just tomorrow if my dream doesn't manifest. What, who am I? What did I do? Like, it's gonna take the time it requires. And I'm gonna have to work until the work is done. And then I'll have to work some more. But I need to respect that. Okay. So check my expectations. It's okay to have them very high, but don't get too full of yourself. Respect the process, respect people, respect the laws that we talked about, the laws of the universe, the laws of success. It's important to respect them. And lastly, I'll finish up with this for this concept. It's about evolution. I believe no one wants to stay the same. Okay. No one wants to stay stagnant. And it's important for people to know that if they give their time, their energy to come here at work, I'm going to do everything in my power to help them evolve. Whether it's through this company, whether it's for their life, whatever it is, they're going to learn something, they're going to evolve. And in return, because they evolve, I'll evolve. And in order for me to help someone evolve, I can't stay stagnant myself. I have to focus on evolving myself, because uh, we always say the teacher becomes the student can become the master at some points. But if I don't have anything else to teach, if I don't have anything else to bring to the table, what am I good for? So I need to evolve myself. So I wanted to tie this and share it with our listener, this concept, because I believe it helped me out a lot in developing cultures that people believed in. And yeah, basically it started with intention. I thought that was very powerful. And lastly, okay, here's the last thing I wanted to say. Okay, that question I asked Alvin, at first, when I said, do most people even know how to prepare? Okay. Um, really, what I've seen, even now, like working with business owners every day as an executive coach, I find that most people, if they're intentional enough, they can clearly define, I wrote it down here, what they want. But most of the time, that's not the problem. The problem is that very few know how to create these things, how to go about these things, and that's where the separation creates itself. Okay, so yeah, the how is so important. It's good to know something, but knowing the how is also super important, and knowing the why, of course. And I'll leave you guys with one last wisdom from Ralph Waldo Emerson is make the most of yourself, for that there is all there is for you. Okay, make the most of yourself, for that there is all there is for you. When I read this wisdom, to me it talks about responsibility also, is that everything that happens in my life, everything that's here for you is it's my fault or my responsibility. Uh, as simple as that. So if I don't make the most of myself and I don't get lucky, well, that's what I created. Okay, and and that's okay. Now, if I make the most of myself and I get lucky, well, that's what's there for me also. It comes down to that choice and that opportunity and that perspective. But as Brendan said, everything's already within you. That luck is already within you. Make the most of yourself and activate it. And with this, I'll pass the mic.
I feel like this it's appropriate to say, as we do so often, that there's a part two to this whole topic today.
Oh yeah,
Watching the
what?
clock just tick down, man. It's moving faster than we are, which is
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
You know, so much comes to mind. Ray, I'm going to jump right back since it's fresh in mind because I have a broad comment to much of what everyone has said. But you were just talking about these executives, and you know, it comes down to what, you know, whether it's being intentional, taking action. You know, they've got to execute, right? They can come up with their plan or their goal, but unless they execute it, well, I mean, what value is there to that, right? I mean, that's essentially what you're talking about there, isn't it? Executing on, you know,
Yeah,
what their desires are, what that end goal is, and taking those
exactly.
steps. You know, you talked earlier about, you know, we have to know how to prepare, right? Well, you know, you can prepare, but you still have to execute, right? You can get some things lined up. You know, it's just like packing to go on a trip. You know, you're gonna pack your bags. You know, you're gonna get out the map. You know, now we have Google, but you know, you got your map and draw and stop here and all this, but then you have to go do it, right? You got to start walking, right, or driving, or whatever the case may be. And from an execution standpoint, you can't just I mean, I guess you could haphazardly just say, I'm gonna go on a trip and just leave. How's that? I mean, and that may turn out incredible, right? And I think it segues right into what Charlie was talking about earlier
Or
too. And
you could get
just,
eaten by a grizzly too if you're not
yeah, I'm
prepared.
good on that. That's definitely a fear. It's definitely a fear. But then I'm going to prepare to avoid, to defend myself from that. You know what I'm saying? And I will execute if situation happens. But you know, Charlie, you're talking about so many incredible things. Charlie, you had said, and Al, um, but what comes to mind, you were talking about the misfortunes, and sometimes misfortunes are good fortunes, right? I love that statement because it's true, and each of us have, I'm sure, no doubt, incredible stories around that. I think of you said that, and unbelievable amount of memories came back of instances where I was hurt, crushed. I'd even go as far as saying depressed, completely frustrated, just wanted to quit and give up and just throw in the towel and succumb, you know, or even in some cases be like, you know, I'm just gonna bend and kind of sell my soul, right? Break my values and integrity levels to down to their level to just get where I thought I wanted to be, but wasn't where I needed to be, right? And it comes back to what I mentioned earlier from that paper, that research paper, of that free mindset, right? If you're not freely thinking, you don't have that open mindset where, you know, something tragic may happen to you, or your car breaks down, or your flight's delayed. I just had this conversation the other day with some incredible individuals in the construction industry, where the discussion centered around it at one point on flight delays. And you can be pissed, right? You can be in a situation where you got somewhere to be. And so many of us have matured, grown to a place where now the thought process isn't, "Ugh, I'm going to be late," or, "Oh, I missed my flight." It's, there's a purpose greater than my understanding of why I'm being delayed, right? And start looking for opportunities, whether it's somebody you're sitting next to that's frustrated as well, and striking up a conversation, and now you created this connection, right? Or an opportunity to meet you know, other people of the same mindset, or someone you may not have met before, and some kind of connection, or maybe it's an opportunity. You know what, I bring a book with me when I travel, because I'm trying to give some distance to electronics. So it's like, hey, I'm gonna read my book. You know, I'm gonna pour into me, right? And grow me, and take advantage of this 2 hours I was just blessed with. I was just given, that I wouldn't have had. You know, I'd have been on a plane going somewhere, probably talking to some, probably still reading my book, but still, it's, you know, when the plan doesn't necessarily go as you expected it to, you know, what's the positive? What positive in it? I've always believed, and I've been guilty of saying this for my whole life, that even in the most darkest, tragic moments and experiences of our lives, there's a light somewhere in that. And it may be just a speck, just the smallest little speck creeping under the door or crack, you know, far, far away. But if you can focus on just that light, that positive, that one positive thing, the rest of it, just the rest of the darkness, the rest of the negativity, or what your outcome that you didn't want, just will fade away, and you'll be right where you're supposed to be. Just like all of us, all the hardships, all the things we didn't want. Can you call that luck? Sure. I'll subscribe to that and accept that as luck. But I think it's so many other things as well contribute to it. So many contributing factors. So, you know, it's interesting. Talking about Napoleon Hill, I love the quotes, and you can just do a quick, you know, Google search of all the best and whatnot. But a couple came up that really jumped out at me: is great achievement is usually born of great sacrifice. You know, what are you, the folks listening, willing to sacrifice in order to be intentional, in order to take action and execute? Are you willing to change your mindset? That's scary in itself, right there. That's a whole podcast alone, is, you know, mindset, and having that adaptive mind. What are you willing to sacrifice in order to bring about and manifest luck and achievement in your life? So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Oh yeah, so many good ones. Just had me typing away. Let's go back to, yes, everybody pointed to the wisdom from Napoleon Hill. Opportunity comes in disguise as a challenge, misfortune, or temporary defeat. And, you know, the antidote to everything we're talking about, the antidote to luck, good luck, is the statement Dr. Charlie made, where he said it wasn't fair. Sitting down and asking why me? It wasn't fair. See, when we're stuck in that mode of thinking, the brain is digital, right? The brain is either ones or zeros. It's binary. It's either one or zero. So if I'm stuck on asking my brain, this isn't, and saying words like it wasn't fair, That's putting out to the universe that I don't have luck. I'm telling the universe I don't have luck. It wasn't fair. So I'm expecting, at least expectations. I'm expecting life to be fair to me. To not that I'm gonna create the fairness. I'm gonna expect to be fair. It wasn't fair. So I'm gonna sit here, arms folded, and wait for someone to be fair to me. It wasn't fair. Life isn't fair, quote unquote. Life just is life. So the filter that we need to counter that is a PMA, positive mental attitude. I know a lot of people can, and having a positive mental attitude, I'm not saying to walk around serendipity and everything's going to be great, but I'm saying let's look for, Brennan pointed out something from that researcher. And she was leading to, I gather, the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. Because the growth mindset, it's all about being an inverse paranoid, meaning that you're thinking that life is, everything's out there to send good luck to you, and you're looking for it. So I can remember going back, we were talking about this idea of creating the luck, and everything's figure outable. So I was at Costco with a TV. I wanted my son, he just came out of his experience. We all just came out of that experience, really dark time. And I wanted to anchor and change the whole mood of his home. So I bought a big screen TV, but I had a lot of trouble actually. For some strange reason, I had a lot of trouble getting this TV. I started at 9:30 a.m. in the morning. I didn't pick up the TV until 4 p.m. Yeah, just having this thing, issues with card. They only take this kind of card, and would you take cash? But they don't have to run home. And I'm all in between. I'm doing this with clients that I thought it'd be quicker. Anyways, I'm thinking, okay, now I get this TV finally. Take it to my car. I can't get my car. It won't fit in my car. So I'm stuck with this TV going, how am I going to do this? Okay, everything's figure outable. Then I remember my client who's coming, that I'm late for, by the way. And I call her, say, hey, I'm late. I remember you have a truck. You want to come get me? Oh, okay, no problem. He knows that I've actually made space for him, so he doesn't mind making space for me. So he comes in his truck. It fits perfectly in the truck. All right, now, but he can take me to my office so I can work with him. But now I need to get this truck to my son's. I need to get this TV to my son. How am I going to do that? Everything's figure outable. Think, think, think. Have a friend, and he's a client. He has a moving business or so on. Hey, do you have an extra truck? Yeah, come by after. Get it to my son. You see, so if I sat and went, this isn't fair. I'm in the rain too with this TV and this box, and I can't get this thing. And I just kept thinking. So I created that. So the antidote then to this luck thing is sitting down and saying life isn't fair. They shouldn't have done this to me. Why me? Why? Or you can say, what? Everything's figure outable. Challenge your brain like Google. And this is something I really work on this, because it's not in our nature to be what's right about situations. It's in our nature to be what's wrong with things. That's our nature as humans. But I challenge myself constantly. Okay, how am I going to figure it out? Come on, come on. How do I figure this out? How? And the how comes. People pop up, things happen. I just have to ask how. During the pandemic, personal mastery training was created during the pandemic because I was sitting around, my job, my profession, my passion was cut blank. Like everybody, like most people. Some people thrive, some people, it gave them a chance to change. Mine was a chance to change. And I sat and went, I saw this wisdom that said, never let a chaos go to waste. Whoa. That doesn't make any sense right out the gate. Never let a chaos go to waste. Chaos. Come on, it's chaos. But within the chaos, there's an opportunity. And I had to keep looking. And now here we are. I met Ray. I met, Dr. Charlie and I got on, and here we are. And it created this whole other stream of my passion that I was been secretly working on. So I took opportunity. So there's so many, we could go on and on. I love Ray's shiny 5-star versus gritty 5-star. And I wrote here, until your career is over. Brady, let's take Tom Brady. He's a quarterback, in case some of you don't know. He's arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks that played football. He is that, probably went into the NFL as a most likely a 2-star. I'm not even sure. No, not sure anyone was looking at this geeky.
A late round pick.
Late round pick. So I don't even know if he had a star. But anyways, let's call it, all right, to end up being the GOAT. Okay. So I wrote here, until your career is over, until you are sitting in a rocking chair reminiscing on your career, you must always be that gritty 5-star. Because I've seen college football opportunities where the kicker, you name it, the receiver, whoever it is, gets the opportunity on that team, big game, flubs the ball, kicks left of the goalposts. I mean, there's so many times when the opportunity pops up and they didn't shine at that time. This gritty looking kid, gritty 1-star says, "Oh, opportunity, let's go. Kid, come on in. Everyone's hurt." Boom. Right? Kurt Warner is another guy putting boxing shelves. He's another quarterback. In case you don't know who that is, Kurt Warner, watch his story, Netflix. Putting boxes on shelves and doing a grocery work, and broke. They give him opportunity, boom, he's shone. So again, luck, preparation meets opportunity. Suffering, is it really that bad? That's an interesting question, right? Because sometimes, and I'll leave this here, it's a deep question. Sometimes you go to low socioeconomic countries where they're suffering and they're happier they're looking than people who have affluence. Then they're happy. I remember in Jamaica, it was fond memories in Jamaica. We were broke and poor, but we used to turn a mop stick into a horse, just flip it around, and the head of the horse is where the mop is, and and I don't know if anybody did this before, but you would take a hanger, a metal hanger, put it through a spool of empty thread, and you turn that into some kind of toy where you could, run it on the ground. It's just magical things. The imagination was there, but we were happy. I don't remember not being happy as a kid. So it's only when I came to Canada and everyone started to compare, what'd you get for Christmas? And we're looking, oh shoot, I didn't get anything. I guess I'm broke. All right. So when you have a comparison. So many nuggets. I'm gonna leave it there because there's so much that we could add. One last thing. Brandon said, focus on the light. You ever notice that it's during your darkest times? Like, let's go to the metaphor of the camping. You go camping. Anyone out there who's gone camping? If you haven't yet, please do. You start to see so many things, so many stars, and that you didn't notice because the lights of the city, the distractions, everything. So when you're in pain, in those dark moments, that's when light is truly revealed. It's truly, you get focus. And by the way, when anyone's been sick, and I don't mean life ending, but even just deathly sick with a cold, all of a sudden you're like, oh man, all I can focus on is what really matters. You don't think about a lot of things. You're just suffering at that time, and you just, the right things, the things you should be doing, or the people you should have. Everything just comes illuminated to you in the darkness. So embrace it. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
All right, really quick, Charlie, as you're reaching to unmute, I'm sure, my friend, I just want to add that all those things that really matter, they're there during the light, when in the good times too.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a habit of taking so much of it for granted, whether it's family, friends, prosperity, work, professionally, the list goes on and on. But that little focusing on the light statement, we can do that all the time. It doesn't have to just be in our darkest times or in those troubled times. And too often it seems to be, and I've been guilty of this in my life, and have been intentional about focusing on all those, on the light, if you will, in the good times as well. So it'll definitely have an impact on your mindset.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about this is just the consistency that's required throughout all of the things that have been mentioned today. We got to be consistent about all of those positives, and the best outcome will come. And that's one of Alvin's 4 C's. Consistency is so essential. Without consistency, we're going to be stop and start, dead in the water. Will be those people with the New Year's resolutions going to the gym, and then, as Alvin mentioned earlier, 1 month later we're not going anymore. I remember when I showing my son when he was in his teenage years how to lift, and showed him how to get in the gym and work out. And January came, and he said, "Dad, where all these people come from?" I was like, "New Year's resolutions people. They got goals for the year." I said, "Don't worry, by February 1st, 1 month later, the gym will be back to normal." I remember last year he came to me. He's 26 now. Last year he came to me. He said, "Dad, it wasn't 1 month this year. 2 weeks. We're
Hmm.
already we're already back to normal." So stay consistent, stay the course. With that, I'll pass the mic.
Amen.
All right. So if that's cool for you guys, I'll jump into my last word right before I do. As Brendan said, it's so true that when we're in the light, um, it's important to be grateful and be mindful of all the good things that we have. Uh, just I'll throw it out there. Everyone's doing very, very well, but earlier this week, I had to leave the house in an ambulance with my 16 month old, baby boy, because he couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe. So now he's doing very, very well, but just little things like that. And again, being prepared, the best of your ability for situations that you can't really prepare for. But in the end, man, we're just grateful for everything that we have. So here's my word I'd like to say. Well, it's really 2 words. I'll say be reliable. Okay.
Mm.
And why do I talk about being reliable is uh, I wrote this down. Okay. I actually created a wisdom. Really cool from our conversation. Thank you guys. I wrote myself, don't rely on luck, rely on you. Luck doesn't bless those who only rely on it, it blesses those who first learn to rely on themselves. So be reliable by preparing, by doing all these things so that, when the situation comes from it, you can be secured that that you can rely on yourself and hopefully get some luck, to trickle down also. And with this, I'll pass the mic.
All right. I'm gonna jump in quick before you thieves take my meal. Take my meal. My word to finish us off is where we started. The word that Ray threw out there, extraordinary.
Mm.
Let's start creating extraordinary luck by being intentional, focused, and practicing the idea of positive mental attitude. It's not, at the end, it has to be a practice. It's not in our nature. So, by the way, don't sit and beat yourself up that I'm not positive. It's not in your nature. It has to be practiced. Because this is why negative news sells so rich. It's making people rich. Okay, it's polarizing, and we have an affinity for it. So to be extraordinary, let's create extraordinary. Remember what they say about extraordinary. Beyond what is usual. I don't know about any of you, but if I'm living a very usual life, expected life, I'll be disappointed. I wanna be extraordinary. I want my life to be extraordinary. I want my touch with people to be extraordinary. That's the goal. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
My word for the week is going to be take action. 2 words, right? Just take action. And Brandon, hit the nail on the head. He said, nothing happens until we take action. So we got to be consistent. We got to be reliable. We got to be persistent, right? We've got to sacrifice. But to do all that, we've got to take action. Then I'll pass the mic.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the word that that just hit me right in the face when we started having this conversation, discussing this wisdom this morning, and that's intentional. So you got to be intentional.
Amen. Amen. Well, fellas, I want to thank you. Ooh, the belly feels full. I feel good. A little early. I'm gonna grab a nap now because I'm satiated. So I want to thank you, and I hope our listeners are also satiated, got what they needed from this conversation. If you do know, remember one idea. If you know someone who could use this, especially as we come up to the new year, there's got to be one idea in here that your friend, your associate, your loved one could use from the four of us. And remember to like, subscribe, and share. Until then, my fellas, what do we say again? What was it?
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
And a whole lot of
Love.
Love.
and a little bit of sprinkle of so.
So.
All right, until next
All
time.
right.
Have a great week, everybody.